Hello everyone. With the release of Pokémon FireRed and LeafGreen to the Switch, now is a great time to explore the glitches in those games. From simple bugs to one of the most helpful and convenient glitches of Gen 3, let's take a look at what Pokémon FireRed and LeafGreen have to offer in terms of glitches. And this of course applies to the originals as well. To start off, we have to look at some irony first. As we know, these games are remakes of the original Red and Green, or in the international games, Red and Blue. Well, in this very rare case, we have a glitch/exploit that exists in a remake, but not in the original. Thanks to a scripting oversight, we are able to obtain a Nugget from this guy, who's secretly a rocket. If we battle him with a low-level Pokemon, it makes it super easy to lose to him. And when we return for a rematch, he'll give us another Nugget. As you can see, I've already done this a couple of times, so this can be an effective and simple way to obtain a lot of nuggets in the early game, and thus a lot of money. However, I personally think that there are better options available, and with the amazing Versus Seeker offered in these games, money really isn't that hard to come by. I'm including the location of the Versus Seeker because it can be helpful for making some of the glitches possible. The next glitch does require a bit of setup, but it's definitely worth it. First, you'll need to have progressed through the game to Celadon City. It is easiest to obtain an Abra from the game corner, which we'll need to trade for a Mr. Mime in this house on Route 2. We also need to make another trade using Spearow to get Farfetch'd. You can find this house in the center of Vermilion City. To find Spearow easily, go to Route 4, as they are pretty common there. Once you get Minion and Chiding, the trade Pokemon, level Minion up to level 33 to learn Recycle, and Chiding up to level 21 to learn Knockoff. Finally, go to the 4th floor of the Celadon department store to buy some retro mayo. It doesn't really matter how much you buy, but the more you buy, the better. And this is another example of the Nugget Bridge exploit being helpful for the extra money. In this example, on Route 16, west of Celadon City, is this cuttable tree. This gives us access to this double battle, which we need for the next step. Make sure that your first Pokemon has a consumable item, your second Pokemon has Knockoff, and your third Pokemon has a mail attached with Recycle. And this is the point in time where the Versus Seeker could be helpful. If none of the double battles are available because they've already been completed, the Versus Seeker has a chance to allow a rematch with the trainers on screen. At this point, go into battle. Our goal is to have my Nidoking use its held Oranberry. Other items can work as well, especially a Pokemon with Rest and a Chesto or Lumberry. I recommend Snorlax, and this perhaps is the easiest way to do this. But in this case, I'm going to have Nidoking lose some HP to use its Oranberry. Thankfully, he was also freed from Fire Spin on this turn, which can be problematic for this particular double battle. Once it uses the berry, switch out for the Pokemon with the Mail and Recycle. On the same turn, have Chiding in this case use Knockoff on the switched Pokemon. This will cause the mail to be removed. On the next turn, have the Pokemon that lost the mail to use Recycle to pick up the item from before. So once again, in this case, the Oranberry. After this happens, complete the battle. Once we do all of that, in the double battle, we need to add mail to every Pokemon in the party. It does not matter what the message says, so most people use Abra. It's best to give the Pokemon that had its mail removed the new mail last. This is because the mail should have a pretty interesting message, however it may not appear if the mail isn't given to the Pokemon last. If the message doesn't appear when given last, this could be fixed by adding mail directly from the Pokemon party instead of going through the item bag. However, if that does not work, depositing and withdrawing the Pokemon should fix this as it did for me here. If that doesn't work, something went wrong during the setup, and I suggest resetting and trying again. You can tell that it worked because the mail should look something like this. Usually it's supposed to be all sets of 3 question marks, but sometimes other things will show up, like Triple Kick here. Now I'll give Minion a rare candy, but you'll notice that the retro mail disappeared. But then you'll realize after trying to replace the rare candy with another mail, I got my rare candy back. And this continues to happen. thanks to a glitch we caused during the double battle, the mail removal glitch, which then can cause mail corruption and give this awesome side effect of duplicating items. The reason why we need a lot of retro mail is because each time we duplicate items, it consumes the retro mail. So essentially we are transforming the retro mail into an item of our choice, and this works for any item that can be held. Rare candies, TMs, Master Balls. It truly is one of the most helpful glitches in Pokémon FireRed and LeafGreen. But now it's time to see an odd bug that can happen in Celadon City. So you'll notice that I got this Kadabra in Celadon City, technically from the Game Corner. Well, watch this. Now apparently, I caught it in the Celadon department store, which is only possible with the use of eggs or hacking. But wait, there's more. You can see that it doesn't affect any of my other Pokemon, just Kadabra. And now it says I caught it in Celadon City again, which is odd. It's a minor bug that doesn't affect much, but it is strange, and at the time this video is released, the cause for this is unknown. That's all there really is to say about this, so now that is going to bring us to the Pewter City Pokemon Center, where this Jigglypuff resides. If we interact with the Jigglypuff, it starts to sing, and we can interrupt this by using the help menu triggered by left or right. You'll notice here that it cut off the rest of the sound effect. This is also possible to do with the Pokeflute. It's pretty eerie, to be honest. This is caused by the jingle of the help menu using the same sound channel as these two instances, so it effectively interrupts and ends them, then leaves silence, until the music returns as scripted. And I guess technically this is another glitch that existed in the remakes, but not the original. How odd. This next one is a minor glitch that requires a double battle as well, and a Pokemon that knows Focus Punch. Once the battle starts, the Pokemon with Focus Punch needs to use it, but before finishing your turn, have the Pokemon with Focus Punch switch out. Once the attacks begin, Focus Punch will still charge, but then the Pokemon is switched out as normal. The reason this happens is because the priority of Focus Punch animation is much higher than the recall, so it still takes place even if it ends up being redundant. That really is all there is to say about this glitch. It's not like when the Pokemon returns to battle, it suddenly uses Focus Punch or anything, which would be really cool by the way. It's just pretty comical to see overall. I'm going to talk about a few more things, but I'm not going to show them in the background because either I can't, there's just no practical way to show them, or I could not get them to show up. An example of this is the roaming Pokemon IV glitch, to where roaming Pokemon will always have 0 IVs in defense, special attack, special defense, and speed, which is really unfortunate because these Pokemon are pretty awesome. I'll put this on screen by the way. Also, the attack will be at 7, and the HP is the only one unaffected. But I do have some good news though, and this applies to the Switch players. It's that the infamous roaming Pokemon Roar bug has been patched into the Switch versions. This post says that it's a massive glitch, but it's not really that big of a glitch, but the effects of it can be. If Raikou or Entei use Roar during their wild encounter in Pokémon FireRed and LeafGreen, they'll disappear forever. Suicune doesn't apply because it doesn't have Roar when encountered. But that is a big deal because you only get them at basically the end of the game, and it can be super annoying. But not if you're one of the people that always save their Master Balls for the legendary beast at the end of the game. And now with the glitch we learned about earlier, you won't have to worry about it in the originals either. Another glitch I couldn't show due to the emulator I'm using is the held item lost glitch. If Kadabra, Machoke, Graveler, or Haunter is traded while holding any item, that Pokemon will evolve as expected, but its held item will be permanently lost. Now this is from Bulbapedia. I've voiced my concerns about information from there, but according to Bulbapedia it can happen to just those 4 Pokemon. I haven't been able to experience this, but this is something to keep in mind. Perhaps I'll experiment with it on an OG cartridge. Finally, the last glitch, the Multistrike moves inflict status effect glitch. That is a mouthful. If a multi-strike move other than triple kick is used against a Pokemon with an ability that inflicts a status condition on contact, there is a possibility that the target Pokemon will receive the same status effect that the move user gets from the defending Pokemon. Let me go into how difficult this is to happen intentionally and especially naturally. First, you need a Pokemon with an ability like Static, for example, and an opponent with a multi-strike move. According to Bulbapedia, Static has to take effect on the last strike of the move. Typically it happens before, and that's not all. I said earlier that there is a chance, yeah, a 1% chance, so this is incredibly unlikely to happen. But I did see a video of it happening, and even when Static took effect before the final strike, so once again double check Bulbapedia's info, and I'll be sure to add some links about these glitches in the description. This is incredible though. I swear I've had this happen to me before, and I just thought I was crazy, but apparently I wasn't. Let me know if you've experienced this before in the comments. And on that note, we have reached the end of the video. Please let me know what you guys thought of this video. I truly hope you enjoyed. Also rate it well, so I know to continue making Gen 3 content. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to check out my other ones in the earlier generations, Generations 1 and 2. I appreciate it very much if you made it to the end. I hope you guys have a good one, see you next time, and thank you for watching.